Coming up on Network Africa, at least 101 people dead in South Africa as rescue efforts continue in the Eastern Cape. The World Food Programme warns critical funding shortages force drastic cuts to life-saving food assistance, affecting millions of Sudanese refugees. Plus, Ghanaian police announced the rescue of dozens of its citizens trafficked to Nigeria under a fraudulent recruitment scheme. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. The Eastern Cape Provincial Government has extended its condolences to the families of victims who died from South Africa's devastating floods early last month. The official death toll remains unclear. However, rescue efforts for missing people continue in the province. Last week, authorities said 101 people had died, but there are fears that number could increase. Victims include 38 children. The youngest fatality is an infant about 12 months old. 7 bodies remain unidentified and search operations are ongoing for 2 missing children. Extreme weather hit the province between June 9 and 10. Heavy rain caused by a cold front turned into floods that swept away victims and their houses, trapping others in their homes and strongly damaging infrastructure, cutting electricity supplies. In the meantime, thousands of residents in Cape Town's Yanga KTC informal settlement are enduring dire conditions after heavy rains and a cold front unleashed floods across the region. Residents continue to wade through flooded pathways between waterlogged metal shacks. Aid organizations have launched a humanitarian response in the area, distributing hot meals, blankets, warm clothing, hygiene kits and other emergency supplies. The group estimates that around 5,000 people in the community are in urgent need of support. Cape Town Disaster Risk Management spokesperson Sonika Latengan confirmed that teams continue to assess flood-hit areas to determine the scale of relief required. The flooding follows days of strong winds and heavy downpours that have affected several parts of South Africa, including Khayelitsha, Mitchell's Plain, Makassar, Nyanga, and the Cape Winelands.
My furniture got damaged, my food, everything's got damaged. So I want to stay in bed every time because I can't walk, I'm using walking sticks every day. So, it's so painful. Every year, it's something, everything is going like this every year. I'm sure it's about 3rd time now. But in winter, the same thing applies as this every year. Anything, any help I need it, because I can't stay in water every time. Every year I must stay in water. Any assistance I need it, really. Arthritis, I'm suffering from arthritis. I can't walk properly. I'm using walking aid.
Many people are affected with floods every year. Every year, it's been more than years. I can't even count how many years do we affected with floods. And every year, it's still the same. We don't receive any proper planning or any proper assistance.
The United Nations World Food Programme, WFP, is warning of increased risk for millions of Sudanese refugees who have fled to neighboring countries. WFP says there is the risk of refugees plunging deeper into hunger and malnutrition as critical funding shortages force drastic cuts to life-saving food assistance. Since the conflict erupted in Sudan, in April 2023, more than 4 million people have fled to neighboring countries in search of food, shelter and safety, with families often arriving traumatized, malnourished and with little more than the clothes on their backs. The UN Food Agency says it has mobilized to provide emergency assistance to refugees escaping to 7 neighboring countries. Food and cash, hot meals, and nutrition support have been provided in the Central African Republic, Chad, Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, South Sudan, and Uganda. The agency also expanded support to host communities who have generously welcomed these refugees, despite often grappling with their own food insecurity needs.
The conflict in Sudan is a regional humanitarian crisis. Over 4 million people have fled across borders to at least 7 countries in the region. WFP operations in all those countries are critically underfunded. Without further contributions, assistance for Sudanese refugees will completely cease in the coming months. Sudanese refugees deserve protection and assistance, not further hunger and despair. WFP will continue to serve them, but we need the funding to save lives.
The United Nations mission in South Sudan, in partnership with state authorities and other partners, is helping to organize the release of young boys and girls from the armed forces, and it's a measure stipulated in a national action plan to end grave violations of the rights of children in armed conflict. In Rank, northern South Sudan, hundreds of children were recruited and used by armed forces when nationwide fighting broke out in 2013. Some of them remain uniformed, while others have become de facto street children. UNMISS Child Protection Officer Philip La says the child protection mandate has been expanded to include civil society organizations.
This kind of awareness raising and capacity building, we extend the child protection mandate to include civil society organization participation in identifying the violation, including identifying the perpetrators for the 6th grave violation.
Ghanaian police say 76 young citizens trafficked into Nigeria under a fake recruitment scheme have been rescued. The victims, mostly men, were promised football contracts with top foreign teams, job placements abroad or assistance with visa processing. Upon arrival, the men say their travel documents and mobile phones were seized. Officials say the traffickers forced their victims to call their families to demand nearly $1,000 in the guise of paying training or facilitation fees. Ghanaian police add that the traffickers also used the victims' phone contact list to scam their friends and relatives. Authorities say efforts are now ongoing to arrest those behind the fraud.
Police service, once again, working with our counterparts in Nigeria, have worked on cases involving victims of a killnet scheme. A total of 76 victims have been rescued and 7 suspects arrested, all Ghanaians, in different states in Nigeria between 19th May 2025 and 27 June 2025. 30 victims were rescued in Agbara, Ogun State in Nigeria on 19th May 2025, and 15 victims were rescued and 1 suspect was arrested in Uyo in Akwa State on 22nd June 2025. The suspects are in the custody of the Nigerian authorities assisting investigation and subsequent prosecution. The Ghana Police Service is working to reunite the rescued victims with their families in Ghana. Still on the activities of killnets, of monies under the pretext of being recruited into football academies for training and placement into top teams abroad, to be employed in lucrative jobs or as part of processes to travel to Europe or Canada for work. Victims are typically instructed to travel, usually by road, to an unfamiliar country. Ghanaians are sent to foreign countries while foreigners are brought to Ghana.
As Goma marks the Democratic Republic of Congo's 65th Independence Day, local residents admit it has been difficult to celebrate despite the latest peace deal. Many highlight the return of peace as the most important thing for them and for the country, because the nation is at war. According to them, it is very difficult to celebrate. The DRC and Rwanda signed a landmark U.S.-brokered peace agreement in Washington on June 27. The agreement sets a 90-day deadline for a regional economic plan, 30 days for a joint security mechanism, and 3 months for the withdrawal of Rwandan troops from Congolese territory. However, reports suggest it also gives the U.S. access to valuable mineral wealth. The conflict has seen the M23 group and others take control of vast swaths of the eastern part of the country. The fighting with government forces has killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds since January. The DRC marks its Independence Day annually on June 30, celebrating freedom from Belgian rule in 1960. The Catholic bishops of Africa, Asia, and Latin America and the Caribbean have urged rich countries to pay their ecological debts without continuing to further indebt the global South. The bishops, standing together as representatives of the Global South, announced their first ever joint statement in a press conference in the Vatican today. In the statement, they demand ambitious implementation of the Paris Agreement and lay out the Church's commitment to action ahead of COP30. Together, the bishops represent nearly 821 million Catholics across Africa, Asia, and Latin America and the Caribbean. The statement release takes place during the 10th anniversary of the Paris Climate Agreement and the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si, Pope Francis's landmark encyclical on climate and ecology.
Our message today is not diplomatic. It is eminently pastoral. It is a call to conscience in the face of a system that threatens to devour creation as if the planet were just another commodity. The Loss and Damage Fund must be urgently operationalized, and together with the Adaptation Fund that focuses on building climate resilience, the Loss and Damage Fund must guarantee priority access to affected communities. It is necessary that the most developed countries recognize and assume their social and ecological debt as the main historical perpetrators of the natural resource extraction and greenhouse gas emissions. It is estimated that this climate debt of the global north will reach $192 trillion by 2050. In addition, it is estimated that approximately $2 trillion are extracted from the global south every year through corporate, banking, and governmental mechanisms. We therefore call for fair and accessible climate finance for local communities and organizations, including women, that does not generate more debt to ensure resilience in the global south. Likewise, we demand that the ancestral wisdom of our communities be heard. Stop the expansion of fossil fuels, expand clean, renewable energy solutions in consultation with men and women in local communities, especially decentralized solutions. Rich countries ought to recognize and pay their ecological debt without continuing to indebt the global south. Likewise, as a church, beyond criticism, we want to promote alternatives, educational programs, new economic pathways based on degrowth circular economies, ecological spirituality, protection policies, accompaniment of women and girls who are the most affected, and strengthening of inter-religious networks for the defense of life.
We'll take a break now on Network Africa. Still to come. Harnessing the power of digital innovation to build efficient health systems on the continent is the discuss at the Africa Digital Health Summit. More details after the break. Welcome back to the program. A group of non-governmental organizations have brought together smallholder farmers across the northern states of the country to train them with the right knowledge on how they can tackle the effects of climate change with agroforest methods, amongst others, to bridge the existing gap in how they farm. Channels Television's correspondent Nanchin Vincent reports on how the training session seeks to create resilience among smallholder farmers in different communities.
Climate change over the years has continued to impact on the way the agriculture sector evolves in production of food. However, there has remained an existing gap of knowledge among smallholder farmers who are key actors in the value chain to food security. A group of non-governmental organizations have brought together smallholder farmers in the northern geopolitical zones and held a training session to enhance their climate literacy and strengthen adaptive capacity for better output.
Giving them strategies to be able to adapt to the impact of climate change, because some they are unavailable. We build their capacity in issues around leveraging indigenous practices to build resilience, as well as water harvesting and intercropping, among other strategies that they can leverage on to ensure that they adapt to the impacts of climate change.
We expect farmers from the various communities that are here in this training will adapt some of these climate smart agriculture that has been sold to them in things like agroforestry and then so many other sustainable ways of farming to be able to adapt to the impact of climate change. And then we also expect people from this community-based organization to be able to step down this particular training. And just like we have promised, we will be there to support them to see how this training can be stepped down.
Farmers at the event are looking forward to implement the knowledge acquired during the training.
We have learned a lot from this program, and inshallah, what we as the participants were expected to extend and spread the types of knowledge that we have gathered here, more importantly to our local farmers, because these are the types of knowledge or the education whereby our local farmers need to get and understand. That will assist them in managing or in taking care of their farm.
Farming is everything. Farming is life. So we have learned a lot of things about changing and climate weather, and we have learned a lot of things so that we can go and practice it in our farm.
The training seeks to equip smallholders farmers with the right information so they can build resilience to protect their businesses from the effects of climate change. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
In the face of global health challenges, Africa must harness the power of digital innovation to build resilient, inclusive and efficient health systems. Well, this formed part of discussions at the Africa Digital Health Summit. The event brought together key stakeholders in the health and technology sectors from across the continent to shape the future of digital health in Africa.
Pause to build the nation.
The 5th Africa Digital Health Summit is bringing together policymakers, development partners, innovators and the private sector to engage on scalable digital solutions for public health priorities. Building on the success of the previous editions, the milestone gathering is timed at the midpoint of the global decade of action to achieve the SDGs and in the wake of renewed commitments to universal health coverage, health system strengthening, and digital transformation across African states. Organizers say this year's theme underscores the critical role that digital technologies, robust health data systems, and artificial intelligence can play in transforming health service delivery.
Believe technology can and should contribute to the achievement of universal health coverage. We think technology will be key if Africa will achieve, or Africa will accelerate achievement of UHC, universal health coverage, and of course the health-related sustainable development goals. And that's really what ADH is about, bringing everybody together, convening this platform so that we can share knowledge. What is happening in Nigeria, what is happening in Guinea, Niger, all these countries.
As the gathering here facilitates high-level dialogue between governments, development partners, academia, and the private sector, policymakers present here also take turns to highlight government efforts.
Across government, our multi-sectorial partnership is what we need to bridge the gap between innovation and implementation, ensuring that digital health solutions are scalable, sustainable, and not fragmented. To the need to robustly ring-fence our digital health solutions against threats, cyber attacks, breaches, outages, and the potential misuse of patients' data.
Africa is a continent of megacities. There's underdeveloped rural environments and very, very populated cities. And Lagos and Cairo are probably the champions of megacities on the continent. And this phenomenon is going to expand.
Part of the objective of the conference is to promote cross-border and cross-sectoral collaborations for digital public goods, health data governance and digital infrastructure, as well as showcase innovative digital health solutions and AI-powered tools that are transforming care delivery in Africa.
The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, has frowned at the use of its emblems indiscriminately by unaffiliated bodies. An official of the ICRC, Mr. Daniel Odobo, stated this during a training exercise for journalists in Lagos. According to Mr. Odobo, the Red Cross signage, which is the official signage of the ICRC, has now unfortunately become poster for some medical-related businesses, which could be misleading. Also speaking was the Public Relations Officer for International Committee of the Red Cross in Nigeria, Mr. Aliyu Daobe, who says exposing journalists to first aid procedures is important, as many had in the course of duty sustained injuries and in worst case scenarios lost their lives. Mr. Daobe also says the 50 journalists trained in Lagos now have the first-hand knowledge to train others in order to save more lives, and are also expected to report humanitarian crisis in the country.
To train media on first aid means that journalists that are working within the humanitarian space are trained to also manage injuries, wounds, if by any way one of them is affected. This is the aim. Secondly, Lagos is the hub of journalism in Nigeria. Without Lagos, like most of the media organizations are positioned in Lagos. Their headquarters are in Lagos. So it's very important for the ICRC to come to Lagos, to meet with these media organizations, to strengthen our relationship, and also try to see the role we can play to also support media organizations, especially humanitarian reporters and conflict reporters. So that
and that's it on the program for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely day.